Hey, movie fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Uncharted Media Podcast. This is episode 189. So this is gonna be funny. It's a funny story. We're talking video games today, but we're not talking about specifically why we're talking about video games. So The Last of Us dropped like kind of a teaser in this like coming soon to HBO and HBO Max, like a 2.5 minute trailer. Which honestly, all the stuff looks super cool, but it absolutely was a don't worry guys, we're not canceling everything. Here's some cool looking shiny stuff. But they teased a little bit of The Last of Us, and that got us thinking, we haven't covered video games in a while. Last of Us finally escaping development hell to becoming an adaptation of something we like from the video game world, making the live action leap. That's what we're gonna look at this week. It could be live action, it could be animated, but video game adaptations we want either as movies or TV shows, in the case of Last of Us. That's what we're going to talk about this week. Josh, how you doing this fine morning?
Yeah, we don't normally record in the mornings, but your boy making this complicated for you, but it is.
Hey, you're already
a
lot more awake than the last time we did a morning recording.
That is very true, and that's like I wish I could say that's just because of coffee, but I honestly couldn't tell you why I'm more awake this time around.
You just jazzed about the depressing news you got this week.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm like. You know what? We're going to talk about negative stuff today. Man, I can't wait.
I mean, to be honest, like this is, in the words of Thanos, this is like the perfect balance, as all things should be, of like there's good and there's bad when it comes to news this week. But in terms of balancing good and bad and what we're watching, Josh, what are you watching this week?
Okay, so I watched another 3 episodes of Sandman,
which isn't getting a season 2.
Correct, which I don't necessarily hate. It's a weird show, and you can definitely tell that within the season, there's different volume. You know how like when you read volumes of comic books, they're like there's a definitive beginning and end to each story arc.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell that is something that is happening within the show, and that's not a negative at all. Like I'm fine with that. That being said, episode 6 through 9 is pretty stellar. They did have some really interesting conversations. But at the end of the day, like it's a cool show. But I think I'll still get the comic and just read that instead. On the cooler news, I went and saw Bullet Train,
and
God, it's so good. It is just because you see it. You're seeing it today, aren't you?
I was planning on it, but
oh no!
But my schedule got all shuffled around. So my plan was I was gonna go to Universal, see it there, and then walk around the parks to get pictures and stuff for all the new HHN props that are going around. So I'll still be doing that before I have my evening commitments. But I'll probably just scrap the Bullet Train part of it and then see it at some point. Now that we're in football season, my schedule is going to be all kinds of wonky, so I don't know. I want to see that. I still need to see Orphan First Kill, but I can at least watch that at home. Some other horror movie apparently is coming soon, but we'll talk about that later. But you saw Bullet Train.
Yeah, dude, so good, incredible. I highly recommend doing what you can to stay away from spoilers, because there's a surprising amount of really cool surprises in this surprising amount of surprises in this film. It's way like I don't know how to describe, because it's way bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's not just an action thriller. There's a reasonable amount of mystery and like intrigue to it. I was like, all right, cool, but also like Aaron Taylor Johnson is kind it's in it, and I really hate.
He's winning us over, gosh dang it! Just like Miles Teller did.
I'm so mad about it. It is what it is, but like he's incredibly charming, and that's not to say that he's the only one acting his butt off in this movie. Literally everyone involved in this film is fantastic. Everyone is just doing a fantastic job. The movie costs a lot, and you can kind of tell it. There's a few like. No, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to see it first.
Looking at just the cast alone, obviously the budget was going to be pretty high because they've got some pretty expensive names attached to this. But Yeah, I think this might be the year we may have to reevaluate our opinion on both Aaron Taylor Johnson and Miles Teller, because I've also not been a
Yes.
Miles Teller fan for a little bit, but gosh, he's so good in Top Gun Maverick, and I'm like, you can be charming and have life when you're not in Fan 4 Stick. What a shocking revelation!
Well, and like he's really good in Whiplash as well, but
Oh,
like
yes, but that's a very stressful circumstance
that is
he's
a
in.
completely different character. Absolutely.
Um,
What about you?
Unfortunately,
What you watching?
I was trying to see Orphan First Kill and just didn't get around to it. The only thing I've watched was nothing movie related, but show related. I was part of the 10 million people that saw House of the Dragon. I don't know if I'll stick with it. I know everyone's like raving about it, they're tripping over themselves to praise it. I was always a casual Game of Thrones person in college. Like, we would watch it, and I was like, this is intriguing, to say the least. And I'm like everyone else. The ending completely just crapped the bed. My interest was tepid at best for House of the Dragon. I'm just like, I'm at least curious. I will watch the first episode because I know it's this big cultural landmark event. And going, there's some very good production value here. There's some really interesting character dynamics, but I don't know if there's enough here to hook me. One, it could have just because I'm not the biggest like diehard Game of Thrones fan. Like I'll keep up with it to keep conversation, but I'm just like in this era, there's so much other stuff that I could be watching instead, where there's so many options. I still really want to get around to watching that Godfather show on Paramount Plus at some point. Supposedly
Yeah.
that's really good. And once again, Miles Teller having an incredible year. The House of the Dragon was fine. I know a lot of people loved it. I thought it was okay, but again, it's the first episode. So my rule of thumb with any show is I'll watch the first 2 or 3 episodes and then decide if I want to watch it, because you really can't determine a show's quality by the pilot. As much as Psych is my favorite show of all time, the pilot is not a good indicator of where the rest of the show would be. Typically with the pilot, you get a lot of characters that won't stick around or won't be there in the long term. So
Yeah.
I don't know. House of the Dragon it was fine, but I don't know if I'll stick with it.
It was a thing that happened.
Not awful, but just I don't think it's for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at least like you're coming at it from that way. I still need to watch episode, what was it, 1 or 2 of She-Hulk.
By the time this episode comes out, I think 2 episodes will be out. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, same. Haven't seen any She-Hulk. Now, let's get into some news. And the first one, I want to say it's surprising, but it's not. It's still sucky though. And that is that Cineworld, the parent company of Regal, I think they're a UK-based company, is contemplating filing bankruptcy. I don't think they've officially stated it yet, but they're basically gonna have to file bankruptcy. And I'm wondering how much of this is like the UK branch. I don't want to say not holding up their end of the bargain, but I don't really know what the UK theater market looks like currently compared to the American one. But this year has been pretty decent box office wise, but we have already hit a wall right now. Like, we've gotten nothing until October. So the theaters, if you were in bad shape before, you're gonna be in bad shape for a little bit longer. That's why you've got like Spider-Man No Way Home re-releasing over Labor Day weekend, which tickets on sale now for that, and I will absolutely be buying those tickets. Avatar's coming back. Yippee Skippy. This sucks. Yippee Skippy.
No, I just like Avatar's coming back again to remind everybody that it's still relevant, obviously. But yeah, the filing for bankruptcy or possibility, I haven't seen anything as far as like if it's the full company or if it's just the UK brand, or because there's a lot of stuff obviously that goes into this, and bankruptcy isn't necessarily quote unquote always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a way to reset your financial status, which is kind of big corporations doing weird things to make sure they stay afloat is always a fun thing to watch. But in this case, like it definitely is one of those like, I guess do what you got to do to stay afloat. It is the parent company, so I don't know I don't know how corporate structure works, and I don't know if the parent company goes down, if Regal goes down as well.
I
So
was wondering about that because
I don't know how that works.
Regal themselves was like posting on every article that I could see posted online. Like Regal themselves was commenting underneath. We are still open, by the way. Come check us out. Big old smiley face. It's the pain meme of like the smiling mask under the hurt of
Yeah.
like Regal. I know you're still open. I don't know for how much longer, which if Regal shutters in the US, that's going to be a huge blow, not just for them and for the theater going experience, but also AMC's stock plummeted
Mhm.
upon this news. So it's like the wise Qui-Gon Jinn. No, not Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan said it. You and the Naboo form a symbiotic circle. Whatever happens to one of you will surely happen to the other. Like, you don't realize if one company goes out of business, it doesn't just improve business for the other one. It ends up hurting them. Again, we always come back to our wrestling analogies. What happened to WWE when WCW folded? And oh my goodness, they're getting better now that they actually have competition. Oh, and also the old fart finally got kicked out of power.
It's crazy how much better the product is
Oh
now.
my god, like overnight I've hopped back and I'm going, it's so much better!
What in the world?
Johnny Gargano's back!
Oh yeah, so obviously, like, I know you're about to start watching again, just because Gargano's back. Yeah, it's. I don't know. Whenever this happens, I'm always worried that the powers that be are like, yeah, guys, see, the theaters are dying. Going to see a movie is a dead thing to do, even though, like, I don't know, the box offices have been higher than. I mean,
Top Gun is still freaking going.
I'm worried that we're going to be in this weird space where companies are at the same time saying going to theaters is dead, streaming is the new way to see movies, and then also canceling tons and tons of projects. So it's like that's such a weird like reality to be in, like. And something I think you and I have always championed for, at least when it comes to Netflix, but like now I think it definitely can spill over to things like stuff from HBO Max. Is like, give us physical copies, guys. Like, we will buy them. Trust me. Like, just give us the physical copies. I don't know, particularly if there's 20 seasons worth of Sesame Street on DVD, but if there was, I see no issue of that being a physical thing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Heather and I were talking about Knives Out 2. It supposedly might not even be getting a theatrical release. It might just go straight to Netflix, to which case I would be pissed because Netflix has an incredibly spotty track record in terms of releasing physical media. Yeah, they released like Haunting of Hill House and Stranger Things on DVD and Blu-ray. They never released the 4Ks. But Mike Flanagan, one of my favorite directors out there working today, he still goes, yeah, I championing my stuff to come to physical copy all the time. I would pay all the money in the world to get Hush on Blu-ray.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Or Gerald's Game, like stuff that they don't put on physical copies. So I'm like, I would love to own Knives Out 2 when it comes, but I don't think it will. Also, I would love to see Knives Out in theaters. That original movie had legs because people kept seeing it, keep rewatching it to notice the little details that happened every single time. Like, once I saw it the first time and watched other people do like Easter egg breakdowns and follow this, I would go back and watch it again, like follow the baseball in Knives Out, and then you see like Benoit Blanc throw it, and the dog brings back the broken thing, and then it's a whole thing of like, if Don Johnson didn't throw the baseball out the window, Jamie Lee Curtis never would have found out about his infidelity. So again, Kung Fu Panda, the man always finds his destiny on the path he takes to avoid it. I would love to own Knives Out, and I would like to see it in theaters, and that would genuinely help the theater right now, because I'm gonna go there. I think the biggest finger to point out right now is the movie studios themselves, because holy crap, you have left this wide open, gaping hole in the box office right now. But 2023, you have something genuinely like every single week. 2023 is the most stacked year for movies I've seen in a long time. I don't know why everything just got shuffled to there, but like we got that, but we've got to make it to that. It was like in the early
Yeah.
days of the pandemic of just like, oh man, 2021 is going to be a big year when box office finally back, and then that got kicked to 2022, and now that's kind of getting kicked to 2023. We're still getting these ripple effects of the pandemic delaying things at the box office, and now we're finally kind of paying the price for that with these really either super jam-packed weekends of a whole bunch of stuff, which will be eventually coming, but for the time being, we've got nothing, and theaters need things like Spider-Man and Avatar coming out, and I think that'll help a little bit. But like I said, Black Adam and Halloween Ends are the next big movies coming out, and quote unquote big movies. Like, I'll see Halloween Ends opening weekend for sure. Black Adam, always be an audience for that. But even then, those aren't the highest of profile
Mm-hmm.
of movies, and especially with what we'll talk about later with Halloween Ends' release strategy, that might hurt the theaters too. So it was like the studios were helping the theaters to a certain extent, but now not so much, and they're leaving them out to dry. I hope, like you brought up a great point, bankruptcy is not the end, theoretically, but it's not a good sign. But it
Mm-hmm.
can be used to rebuild. Like, you can either be destroyed by it or you can rebuild from it, and I hope Regal's able to rebuild. And it seems like a Cineworld problem more than a Regal problem, but Regal is owned by Cineworld, so I don't really know how that factors in. Maybe they partner with the newly reborn Movie Pass, because like Jason Voorhees, Movie Pass is once again back from the dead and going, ha, I swear I've changed this time. Trust me, guys. I'm going, heard that one before.
But have you changed is the thing. But yeah, bankruptcy isn't the end, so we'll see what happens from here on out. Hopefully they can hold on until next year, because next year's going to be absolutely smacking with bangers.
It also be the first year in a while that I feel like we don't have a Batman project. But then again, Batman will show up in the Flash. We bring
Yeah.
up the Batman because Matt Reeves, the big name on the market right now, seems to have locked down a commitment long term with Warner Brothers, and at least something in Warner Brothers stays long term nowadays. Um,
Ooh.
as Matt Reeves looks like he signed a multi-year first look deal with Warner Brothers, and also I think it was a separate contract, but he re-upped his contract with Warner Brothers Television. So like his Penguin show is still going to be going forward. I believe he has an Arkham Asylum show
I
going
think so
forward, I
too.
think, because he had that GCPD show, but that got scrapped or got turned into the Arkham show. This is a great sign. I think Warner Bros. Saw the success of the Batman and was like, yeah, we need to lock him down. And currently in this ever-shifting landscape with Warner Bros. Discovery, it's nice to know that they're securing at least one asset. And also, everyone freaking out like a week or two ago, the Batman 2 hasn't been greenlit yet. Guys, it hasn't been written yet. He's writing it right now. The movie has to be greenlit after it's written. Like, he'll write it and then give it to the studio to be like, you got it, dude. Sequel's gonna make us $1 billion this time, because that's just how the trajectory of movies typically go. This has been fantastic. Josh and I both loved The Batman. I think it's one of the
Yeah.
best movies of the year. I really like the Gotham that Matt Reeves set up, and also I love that the Batman sets up so many different story avenues for the universe to go, but it never has Age of Ultron syndrome of feeling like it's just there to sequel bait future projects. Like, Penguin feels like a natural part of the story, but at the same time, I'm very much interested in seeing more of his story. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing more continuation of the evolution of Pattinson. But let's be honest, if Matt Reeves is sticking around for this long, where is the boy? Where is it? I will keep asking for Robin until the day comes. And if you're writing the sequel, I actually tweeted Matt Reeves as soon as I saw that he was working on the script. I'm like, working on the script. I'm like, so Matt Reeves, you know what you gotta do. It's like Rocky 4 with the trainer when he's like in front of the mirror. You know what you gotta do. Worse than any nightmare you've ever dreamed. But I know you'll be the one standing. You just gotta put Robin in the Batman 2. That's what you got to do. Do it, Matt Reeves. Do it.
Yeah, it's like you said though. It's great to see that Warner Brothers, especially in a DC context, is sticking to their guns with Matt Reeves and his Batman. Yeah, it hasn't been greenlit because it hasn't been written yet, and I'm okay with that. Matt Reeves, absolutely take your time. I don't care if it takes another year for us to get a confirmation of this being greenlit. I'd rather have, as only Matt Reeves can do in this context, a solid script and a solid film to be made. I wouldn't be surprised if we, and I don't, because I don't think you're making a big ask at all when it comes to having Robin be in the second one. I think honestly, with the way that the Batman ends, it really transitions really well into him becoming this person that's like, hey, this kid needs help. I should, at the very least, take him in. And so, like, to me, I think that works incredibly well. So I'm excited.
Also, the Batman took a lot of inspiration from The Long Halloween. I mean, so did Dark Knight, but this took a lot of inspiration from a lot of different Batman stories, but a lot of it was The Long Halloween. Well, The Long Halloween had a sequel called Dark Victory, in which case they introduced Robin there. So, take the Dark Victory route. I know some people are already asking the question, will Barry Keoghan return as the Joker? Please, no. Nothing against Barry, but can we at least put him on the back burner for a little bit? There's other Batman villains I would much rather be interested in seeing. Like Giancarlo Esposito as Mr. Freeze, please. Or Josh's brilliant idea, Brendan Fraser's Clayface. I don't care. I'm glad to see more of this world. I'm still sticking with that. That's a good idea.
I appreciate that you calling it brilliant, man. I pulled that out of my butt. But
Brendan Fraser in general.
Well.
I just need more Brendan Fraser. Also, I didn't realize it at the time, but this picture that I chose for Matt Reeves kind of makes him look like Chris Evans' dad in Knives Out.
It does. It really does. But I agree though, and I think it's something that you and I have said about the Matt Reeves Batmans, even when we didn't, before the first one had come out. It's like we just need to stay away from Joker for a while. As I know that we, as a comic book populace, love us some Joker, but
do we?
I think when done well, he's the anti-Batman, and I love that. That's what makes him a great character. However, there are more interesting stories to be told in this particular sphere, especially when Joker has not one, but now going to be two solo films, quote unquote solo films. I don't know how you would describe that. I don't know. But like, to me, yeah, like bring in Firefly, sure, but let's do a Scarecrow. Let's do, like, there's so much more when it comes to
Professor Pig.
Mad Hatter.
Well, but like, okay, I've already had a theory.
Man.
I've already had a theory for a little bit that Mad Hatter's actually already in Gotham because
I believe it.
They have that Drops subplot. I think Drops might be Mad Hatter related. I think.
I agree.
Of like a psychedelic drug. I think that'd be super interesting. What I think will happen with Matt Reeves, a lot of creatives, when they stick with something for a while, will need breaks. Obviously, look at Nolan when he's making the Batman trilogy. 2005, Batman Begins. 2006, The Prestige, his most underrated movie by a wide margin. 2008, The Dark Knight. 2010, Inception. 2012, Josh's favorite movie, The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. I would not be surprised at all if Matt Reeves follows the same kind of trajectory of taking breaks to kind of not burn himself out with Batman. So I think the next thing he'll work on is Cobblepot, the Penguin show, then the Batman 2. I wouldn't be surprised then if he goes with something original before going to the Batman 3. Because now that he's got this first look deal, he could be like, all right, Warner Bros., I got this idea. Here you go. Like, I don't know, psychological horror or something like that. Starring Robert Pattinson, not as Batman, though.
It'd be so funny if it'd be hilarious if Matt Reeves just has like a collection of like 12 films that are all star Robert Pattinson and they're all different stories.
The Lighthouse 2.
Matt Reeves just does what Tim Burton does with Johnny Depp and just puts Johnny Depp in everything.
I wouldn't hate that.
No, I wouldn't either.
Something I don't know if I hate, because that's just a strong word, but I definitely will say have mixed feelings on is the new release plan, I guess, for Halloween Ends coming October 14th in theaters and on Peacock the same day. This made sense with Halloween Kills last year because people were still kind of wary about the box office. It hadn't
Yeah.
fully recovered to the point that it has now. Ah, it's like Fetch. Stop trying to make Peacock a thing. It's not going to happen because Peacock is so far behind in the streaming numbers compared to everyone else. And this is just another move of people going, we really need this thing to work. So can we have some big budget, like some really big marquee names to go on Peacock day and date like other people, but not too big of names? Like we can't do that with Jurassic World because then we'd lose a lot of money. But an IP that's big, but not too big.
As opposed to what happened when they released it in just in theaters.
And it made almost $1 billion.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it a good movie.
I know. It doesn't have to be a good movie to make money, Transformers. I'm conflicted about this because I think this will hurt the box office at least a little bit, but on the flip side, I don't think it'll hurt it as much as some other things, like when The Suicide Squad came on HBO Max last year. That absolutely shot it in the kneecaps and made it so I had no like momentum and didn't make anything at the box office. There's a lot more people that have HBO Max than have Peacock. I think there's like 15 million people that have Peacock or something like that. Like that's not gonna have a big dent.
Yeah.
Also, I think people are starved for content. Like I said, Ends, not Halloween Kills. Halloween Ends and Black Adam are the next big tent poles to come out, and that's not until October. So I think this will do fine enough at the box office. I'm wondering though, I know some people will be like, hey, this will hurt the box office for the final Halloween movie. If anything's gonna hurt the box office for Halloween Ends, it was the tepid reaction to Halloween Kills, which Josh and I both are on record saying it's not that bad. It's not the best Halloween, but it's far from the worst. I know some people are like, it's the worst Halloween. Have you seen all of the Halloweens? We've hit some low points in this franchise, and Evil Dies Tonight is not really in the upper echelon of crap in the Halloween pantheon there. This does make me sad. It feels like a little bit of a low blow of Halloween. It's a cherished IP, but not that cherished that we can't put it somewhere else. I know some people are like, does this just mean the future of Halloween streaming? The future of everything is streaming, whether you want to admit it or not, you grumpy old curmudgeon. I want to hold on to my old physical media and seeing things in theater as long as I can. But the writing is on the wall that eventually we will get to a streaming age, whether we like it or not. This is such a weird move, though, for sure. Josh, Halloween Ends is coming to theaters and Peacock the same day for no additional charge. Thoughts?
You and I'm not a fan of doing day and date releases. It doesn't make sense to me. If you want to drive people to see your film in theaters, why release it somewhere else? I mean, we know why, because they want Peacock. They want stop trying to make Peacock a thing. It's not a thing. At least at the very least, just change your change your streaming service name, please. It's just, I don't think I'm with you. I don't think it'll hurt it as much, mostly because A, not a lot of people have Peacock. B, the app is awful. It is so hard to navigate. The UI is terrible.
Looking at you, WWE section.
If
I search AJ Styles on the WWE side of Peacock, I expect to find AJ Styles stuff. Like, it's not that hard. Also, if you're going to absorb the WWE network and take away all the functionality of WWE network, introduce it at some point. You've had WWE content for how long now? And I still can't chapter select pay-per-view or matches? Like, if I want to go to a specific match in the middle of WrestleMania 35. I don't know. Just pick a random one. I actually
Yeah,
have to manually fast forward. I can't just chapter select like WWE
which
Network.
is so like in some ways like I can't believe that we'd be in a place where I'd be like, yeah, WWE Network really did this well or did this well. It was like, oh
At,
wow, like
as a
yeah.
service, WWE Network, as much as we'll bag on Vince for being a scum human being, he was so wickedly ahead of the curve when it came to the WWE Network in terms of having an actual platform for your content. A solid, what, 5 years before Disney Plus had one? And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, the functionality for WWE Network, yeah, it crashed a couple times, but in terms of the features in it,
Couple.
you
A
know,
couple.
well, okay, how much of that was WWE Network and how much of that was our crappy internet college?
our co-
Our
I,
internet college.
our internet college. Oh
We've
wow,
done almost
okay.
200 of these and I still can't speak English.
We're getting really close, man. It's kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, no, it's weird to be in a space where I actually kind of miss WWE Network. This past SummerSlam was in Nashville this year, and I had to work, so I couldn't go. But it was kind of cool just to. So I went and got Peacock for like what was it, $10 or whatever for that night, literally
It's like
to
$5 for
yeah,
ads.
I couldn't remember because I literally had it for a night to watch SummerSlam and then deleted it, and I was like, I don't need and like canceled my subscription. I was like, I don't. There's nothing on here, and it's so like even just getting to SummerSlam, an event, a live event for that night was so incredibly difficult to find. Like,
It's on the
all right, I'll
homepage.
search. Now I will search SummerSlam in the search bar. Boom. Did you mean SummerSlam from '93? No, I mean the event that's currently going on. What? Why would I need? What is happening?
Like
It's
Peacock
just
is
not a good app.
Peacock is a lot like Paramount Plus. Of it's good for older content, like if you want to watch Psych or Monk or oh gosh, Sequest. I don't know. Uh, bringing that back.
CSI Miami.
That's probably on Paramount, but
Probably
those are
yes.
good for like old shows and content. But where Paramount has a slight edge over Peacock is they at least have a plan in place going forward of like, okay, by 2024, all Paramount movies will be on our service, whereas Universal is just like, nah, we'll just play hot potato with the Harry Potter films with HBO Max every other month. So we will also have Fast and Furious, our highest grossing franchise of all time. We'll have Fast and Furious 1, 2, 5, and 8 on our service. Why? Uh-huh. But don't worry, we just got John Wick for this month and this month only. Like, okay, Peacock, if you want to be taken seriously, keep your content more than anything else.
Yeah.
But getting back to ends, I I hope this doesn't hurt the box office too much because they keep claiming this is the final Halloween movie. No
It's
chance in
not.
hell
There's no
that
way.
there's no chance in hell that happens. But it's a matter of if this does well, we'll only have to wait 2 or 3 more years before a new Halloween movie, as opposed to 8 to 10 more years for
Yeah.
another reboot type of situation. Like,
Would
say what you want about
yeah.
kills. I think Blumhouse has handled Halloween better than anybody could have, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
they've updated it well. People have some issues with Kill, but I love Halloween 2018. I don't think Kills is that bad. I have high hopes for Ends. Um, I would like to see more of what Blumhouse could do. God, if Blumhouse can remake Halloween 3 and make it like episodic, oh, with no Michael and just make it weird Halloween crap again. Yes, please. I'd be all
Dude.
for that.
Oh, absolutely. I think they definitely have handled it the IP very well. I mean, I think Evil Dies Tonight was a little too on the nose, and I think people didn't like seeing reality shoved in their face like that.
Wait till
But
the
it
next
is
one.
yeah until the next one, and then they're like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, okay. So I'm excited for I don't know, I know you're excited for this one, but I'm definitely excited just because of all the possibilities, because they might go as far as they need to. They have shown even in Kills that they are not afraid to take risks, and you know what, I'd rather them take risks and they come out the other side like, yeah, okay, I guess that worked, than them just play it safe story wise. So I'm excited.
So this is going to be very interesting on multiple fronts.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, the beloved IP for both Josh and I, and many people, because Lord of the Rings is just perfection. I didn't know that the rights were up for sale, but apparently the rights for Lord of the Rings were up for sale, and someone has bought them. Embracer Group has acquired
Just
the
weird.
everything rights for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, to which, if you're anything like Josh and I, who the heck's Embracer Group, and where did they get all this money? Oh, are they Walter White back from the dead? I don't know who this Embracer Group is, but they've acquired the film, television, merchandise, theme park, all of those rights for Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And my brain immediately goes to Amazon going, you know about this? Where does this leave you? Because, you just spent a lot of money, and if you can't do anything with it, that could be very interesting. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was like a pre-existing contract before this went through. Be
Yeah.
like, yeah, you can have the show, but anything besides the show has to go through us. What this means could be a lot of different things. Wow. Can we bring back the golden age of Lord of the Rings video games, please? Because, yeah, we've got, like,
Dude.
Shadow of Mordor and whatnot. Those are great games. But back in the day, when you had, like, the movie tie-in video games, which swung way above its weight class and should not have been as good as they were, we all had memories of either having the game or, more specifically like me, going over to a friend's house to play the video games because those Lord of the Rings games were amazing. But getting more games, potentially more TV series besides the Amazon one. So Amazon won't have exclusivity on that, which I think could be super interesting. I would like more Lord of the Rings content, whether it's movies or TV, with the caveat, very similar to Star Wars, of we put it way separate from what we already know about the world.
Mhm.
Like, put it in a much different time frame. I know Rings of Power is a prequel, like set, probably thousands of years, I believe. Like when the rise of Sauron the first time. Interesting concept. Again, like House of the Dragon, I'll probably watch the first 2 or 3 episodes to properly gauge if I like it or not. Set a sequel series, The Last Days of Aragorn, and what happens after the good king dies. Like what happens there? Don't make it full Game of Thrones, but I would be very curious to see what the lineage of that would look like. What does the world look like in the future as opposed to the past? I think the world of Lord of the Rings is so vast and interesting that you could tell a lot of different stories. There's another important angle to this, but I'll come back to that after we hear from Josh. Josh, Lord of the Rings is one of your most beloved franchises this side
Yep.
of Redwall. What does this mean? And Embracer Group. Okay, sure.
So, okay, what's crazy is, so to me, yeah, it's a little weird that Amazon has this show coming out and then the rights are sold right before the
Sold to
before
not
the
them.
yeah, till sold to not them. But the thing to keep in mind too is that it is a prequel, and technically they're going to be pulling more from the
Silmarillion?
Silmarillion, sure. The other books of from Tolkien in the Middle Earth kind of world, which is totally okay. So I looked up Embracer Group because I was curious. Give us something to talk about.
Yeah.
Fun fact: they're a gaming company. Just a small one. The kind that owns THQ, Gearbox. The company that did like Borderlands and like Tomb Raider, the Evil Dead games, Deus Ex Machina, like so many of some of the biggest games of the last 10 years. So there's that. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a move to get the Lord of the Rings games going again, which is I have no issue with whatsoever. Let's go, baby. But also a roundabout way to get Lord of the Rings into under the PlayStation Studios banner in some way, shape, or fashion. Because I mean, bro, like, how you want your studio to do well, right? So PlayStation Studios is quote unquote new. It's so
PlayStation Productions or PlayStation
yeah,
Studios?
yeah,
Oh yeah,
whatever,
PlayStation.
whatever.
It is PlayStation Studios, I think.
So you want that to do well, and you're already making a Borderlands movie. Why not just have them get more rights and then just make Lord of the Rings content under your banner? Like, that's a fantastic way to bolster your new studio. I'm
Especially
not
with
saying that that's the
Microsoft
play, but
acquiring a
yeah,
lot of IPs as well.
yes, absolutely. So I mean, it makes sense, man. I don't know. It does. It's very confusing, I think, for Amazon to be coming out with with the series like what, in 4 or 5 days? Yeah,
Yeah,
about
next
less than a
week.
week at this point. Um, and then the rights being sold, so that's super weird. But I think it's just interesting that it's by a Swedish like video game and media holding company that it just happens to be responsible for a lot of the top games in the past 10 years. So it's like, all right, interesting, cool.
And then I come at it from a different perspective of there's been rumors. We'll just call it that. There's nothing more to it than that. There's just
It's
rumors
a
and
rumor
speculators.
weed.
There's been rumors for at least a decade of theme park stuff for Lord of the Rings. And
Let's
I
go.
never believed it. One, because it never seemed like an actual viable option. But two, I never really knew where it would go because Lord of the Rings would need a lot of space, and I didn't really know who would be able to do the expansion. Well, the love of my life that is Universal Orlando is building a third park. Lord of the Rings is not scheduled to be at that park.
Mm-hmm.
However, the past few months there have been increasing amount of rumors that upon an expansion, which all theme parks open to a certain amount and then they'll always like expand out as need be over the coming years, like different phases. That the expansion would see a Lord of the Rings section added onto the park. Now, whether this changes with this new ownership group, I do think it's interesting that theme park rights were definitely acknowledged in a lot of the articles that were mentioned because my knowledge, Lord of the Rings has not had a theme park presence yet, but that's always been like the white whale, so to speak, of who's eventually gonna get Lord of the Rings in a theme park because there's so much money to be had there. Because oh my gosh, if you imagine if Universal already has Harry Potter, if you can go to both Three Broomsticks and the Green Dragon in the same day,
Dig.
oh my gosh. You can buy your wand at one place and also what merchandise would you want to buy? Not a ring. That would be a bad idea to sell rings at this Lord of the Rings place. The merchandising, where the real money from the theme park comes from.
But see, like, that's the other thing. I think you absolutely do rings. Are you kidding me? You do, but not just the one ring. You do all of them. You do like almost like a
But there's
ring
not that
shop.
many. Everyone has a wand in Harry Potter. Not everyone has a ring.
I mean, there's a pretty decent amount
There's like
actually.
what, 11?
No, there's way more. Because there's the 9 that they gave that were given to the humans. There's it's like
Five that were given to them.
five
The race
five
of
to the
men
elves.
who, above all else, sought power.
And then there's
4
like
for the
so
dwarf
9,
lords.
5, and then I think four went to the
Dwarf
dwarves.
lords.
So that's, I mean, it's
But
still
still,
a
that's not
decent
like a
amount.
wand in every hand.
I mean, I understand, I hear you. But that's why you do like swords and like costumes and like,
There's a
bro,
weapon shop just called And My Axe.
bruh, tell me if I can get a actual like to scale model of Gimli's double-headed axe. Are you kidding me? Or a scale, or like an actual wood version,
Sting.
a wood version of Gandalf's staff, the gray, not the his white one's fine, but like the gray.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Or,
some, I
again,
think,
a glowing sting sword. Like,
oh dude,
that
there's
actually,
just so,
that like actually interacts like the wands in Wizarding World. Like,
that's
it
what I
actually
do.
lights up.
Oh, I'm just imagining, like, now that I've been to Universal and now that I've seen at least half of Harry Potter World and I've gone to Diagon Alley, I'm just imagining how cool that theme park would be just to be in and an experience, like, and to experience. Um, to me, it's not like you almost have to do Smaug and have to do a fire breathing dragon there as well. Like,
Make that a ride. Escape from the mountain.
Escape from Smaug.
Escape from Misty Mountain.
Oh, dude, there's just so much you could do, I think, and the world is way more vast than Harry Potter, and there's so much more you could do, merchandise and theme park wise. That, like, imagine getting to go and hang out at Helm's Deep, or like Minas Tirith or something like that. God, there's so much cool stuff to do, I think. But yeah, it's an interesting move, but I think harkens to a really cool future. I would hope anyway.
Absolutely. Good use of Harkin.
Hey, thanks.
Lastly, for our news, it's kind of weird because we have our Kong universe currently going on with Godzilla, and we've got a Godzilla versus Kong sequel going on. We've got the MonsterVerse over at Warner Brothers, and Disney's just going, yeah, that's nice. But can we do that too? We promise we won't copy it completely. As Disney Plus is working on a Kong TV series, and I'm going, read the room, Disney. This is a little awkward. Of like, I get that you can have multiple franchises at the same time, but it's just like they're doing something. Let them finish. Then if you want. Also, Disney, you have Kong already. His name's Mighty Joe Young. Did you forget about that one?
Of course they did.
You could just save a whole bunch of money and just reboot Mighty Joe Young, so you don't have to pay the Kong license. That one's for free, Bob Paycheck. Take that one on me. This is weird, right? Like,
yeah.
Like,
Oh,
don't get
it's
me wrong,
totally
I like
weird.
Kong. And to clarify, this is completely separate from the MonsterVerse. This will be a completely separate Kong, supposedly be the origin of a separate Kong and the world that he inhabits. I'm just going, this just is blatantly Disney just stepping on somebody else's toes. It's just so weird. Like, it just, I don't know. It's just so bizarre. When I saw this last night, like, so is this a continuation of the MonsterVerse? Since the MonsterVerse hasn't told us Kong's origin, Disney's just going, that's an untapped market right there. We will do this. Oh, y'all haven't called him King Kong yet? We're going to beat you to it. We're just going to rush this out. I'm going, but why? You don't need to do this, Disney. This is just bizarre. Unless you've got like this great idea, which I don't know that you have. This is just weird to me of like, you know what we're missing? Kong, because everyone needs more Kong, which is probably true, but Disney, do you specifically need a toy that someone else is currently playing with?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Because they
Disney
couldn't
always
afford
needs
Godzilla.
Yeah, they always need other people's toys. To me, all I see is this is them redoing the King Kong with Jack Black. That's all. I quote origin. All right, cool. So Skull Island is a pretty decent quote unquote origin. What are you gonna do? Like, all right, cool. So this is how giant monkeys came to be about. On how do you tell that story without doing the subterranean world and all this other stuff? Like, how do you,
Yeah,
you know what I
supposedly
mean?
it will
Like,
be Skull Island, which adds more confusion to this.
yeah, like what there's so much confusion and I just don't get it. And to me, and no matter how you swing the origin part of it, it's like, what origin? Because we meet him when he's a quote unquote teenager on Kong Skull Island, so it's like, I'm confused. Whatever, dude. Disney, just stop trying to play with other people's toys. Like, just treat your own toys with respect. How about that? Like, let's give like the toys you currently hold some love. Like, I don't know, make a why this and not a Treasure Planet movie?
Yeah, we won't let that go. But yeah, this is weird of just like, you're right. They've got this vast IP. They don't need to be searching for something. I don't know if Kong is like, I don't think Kong's public domain. I thought maybe he might be.
Maybe certain version, it's like the Sherlock, certain versions of King
mm,
Kong are public domain, which wouldn't be surprising to me, that because like the first King Kong is literally the one of him like swatting at airplanes hanging from a
yeah,
building,
the
isn't it?
1933 version or something.
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure that like is the one with Jack Black. That's
That's a
Disney's.
remake of that was New Line, maybe? I'm
It
not
might be.
sure.
I don't know, but like
Um,
to me that might be the be because it's in public domain, and that might be why they're able to do this. Because to me, like I don't see how you, without going in that direction, I don't see how you do another King Kong story.
yeah, I'm just very confused by this.
Yeah,
As per usual, this week's episode is sponsored by TeePublic, your one-stop shop for all things Uncharted Media merch, whether it's t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, notepads, whatever you want with the Uncharted Media logo or other fantastic designs. Go there, support the show, and if you haven't already, subscribe to us on whatever platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're now 25 subscribers away from 700, so more
jeez,
than likely we'll talk about Darth Jar Jar before the end of the year. Um,
holla.
but yeah, let's talk video games, shall we? Josh and I's like second favorite, probably media related thing to talk about. That's comics. Um, so yeah, they dropped this like 30-second teaser for the Last of Us series coming to HBO Max. So that inspired us. We'll talk about that when it gets to be an actual trailer, because for now they're
Yeah,
just showing a couple little clips. But even those little couple clips, oh dude,
let's go,
Pedro
baby.
Pascal with the "you
Let's
don't
go.
know what loss is." I'm like, that's Joel. That's not just Pedro Pascal Mandalorian it. That's Joel right there. So what we're gonna talk about is video games that we want adaptations for. They can be either movies or TV, live action, or even animated. Because there's, well, if not on my list, I would kill for a animated Yoshi series for kids, just because. Oh my gosh, the adorableness of like a Yoshi's Island animated series with all the different colored Yoshis. Tell me you wouldn't watch that, Josh.
Yeah, no, I would. Dang it! I hate that I would I would sit here and be like, I can see us having the conversation now. Honestly, with like, an animated Yoshi series. That sounds like it's going to be for kids. It's going to be so lame.
And
And then
everyone,
every Saturday it comes on, and you and I are there with bells on, like, oh, this is so great. It's so
it's
funny and adorable.
it'll be a lot like Phineas and Ferb. Of it's that show that adults pretend they don't know, and then they find a big group of people. They're like,
Yes.
"You've seen Phineas and Ferb too," and then everyone gushes about it, and they don't realize why they had to keep it quiet that they love it so much. Um,
Yes.
because Phineas and Ferb is a masterpiece.
Yes, it
So
is.
we tried to also have the caveat of things that weren't already a thing. So like I can't say Uncharted because we finally got the Uncharted movie, or we joked before we recorded, get to Resident Evil because there's been a bazillion of those. I broke that for one of these, primarily just because most of y'all have forgotten about this already, which makes me very sad. But I also tried to avoid things that are currently actively in development. So like the Borderlands movie,
Mm-hmm.
the God of War movie or TV show, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that one is a little sketch, because it's not like quote unquote confirmed. Like it's still in rumor territory. We haven't seen anything as far as directors or anything like that. And even with that, I didn't put it on my list because I don't know where you start. I don't. Do you start at the very beginning, or do you just go with what the new most recent game has done and been able to tell his origin in a very roundabout way that like with more emotional stakes? But yeah, anyway, yeah, like those games are off the table. Stuff that's in active development. And I think what's funny is you take those off the table, and I think some people will be like, well, then what do you talk about? But
Lots
the
of
world of game,
horror.
yeah, the video game world is very large, and I think it's time that we talked about it.
All right, what are you kicking us off with there, Josh?
Let's go with probably the wackiest idea on my list.
Scribble knots.
Is I want a Chippendale, like the movie that just came out, Rescue Rangers.
So good.
um so good. I want a version of that film, but with Wario and Waluigi. And I just see it in my head, and there's just so much fun to be had there. Like, how do you deal with two characters who are, by their own rights, very entertaining characters, very like fleshed out in their own, but still somehow considered second class to their quote unquote alternate selves. There's I think there's a lot of really interesting storytelling to happen there, and just it I'm just imagining Wario dragging a bunch of adults in there to see a bunch of fart jokes is hilarious to me.
I would love one of two things for the plot of the movie. Either um Bowser has just gotten tired of Mario's crap and kidnapped Peach, Mario, and Luigi. So there's like no one left. So Wario and Waluigi have to be the ones that do it. We're like, hi, fine. Or better yet, Bowser kidnaps Peach again for the umpteenth time and sends a letter to Mario and Luigi and be like, here's where you can find her. And Toad accidentally delivers it to the wrong place. So the entire time, Wario and Waluigi think that they're the ones that, all right, Bowser finally sees us as an adversary. It's our time to shine. They get there. Oh, why is it you two? Type of thing. Like, you were never meant to be the hero. You were never meant to be the hero in this situation. Like, that could actually be funny.
That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah. Like, to me, and just in general, there's a few of these, the properties that I've got are Nintendo properties that Nintendo seems to forget about and just not really do anything with. Because, they only make Mario games.
So F-Zero.
Yeah. Let's dive into that, baby.
Do you have F-Zero on your list?
I have F-Zero. I have absolutely. Give me a Captain Falcon movie or TV
Captain
show.
Fabulous.
God, I love Captain Falcon so much, and I love that as a character.
He's my main. Him and Ganondorf are my mains.
Okay, so maybe you can confirm this for me. There was a short run like animated TV show with him in it, correct? And I didn't hallucinate that, right? Like there was like 4 or 5 episodes and then it got canceled.
Yeah, that was totally a thing.
Okay, cool. Glad to know that I didn't hallucinate. Well, at least that. But like to me, turning Captain Falcon into like this weird like speed racer cop drama works on so many levels that I was not prepared for. And I think like having that as a film, like I'm thinking like in a world like Akira Battle Angel, almost like that, but with Captain Falcon and like F-Zero. Like that's so cool.
I'm thinking you merge Speed Racer, Red, and Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, baby, let's go. Like, just even like a Speed Racer Dread, like just those alone, like would be so cool. But with Captain America, and it's like he's like, Captain Falcon.
Captain America? Captain America and F-Zero. Chris Evans as Captain Falcon.
Stop! Give me what I want! Oh my gosh. And I'm just like imagining him like the villains think he's got him. He's like, all right, they got him surrounded. And he just like looks at all of them. He goes, all right, guys, show me your moves. And just goes to town. Like, come on. It's just so cool. It would be so much fun. And like, I think Captain Falcon's one of those things that you could do either animated or live action and it would be fantastic. And I think it would work very well. So let's go, dude. Give me my Captain. Give me my F-Zero show / movie.
I'll stick on the Nintendo train of supposedly this thing was happening, but like all Netflix projects, it's been stuck in development hell and we've heard nothing about it for years. Legend of Zelda. Just leave it there. Like, there's so much you could do with that. Honestly, I'd probably make it a TV series because the world is so vast and interesting. The question is, would you make it live action? I wouldn't. I would do, if you could get a TV show in the style of Breath of the Wild in terms of like that 3D animated, but kind of retain some of its.
So like
has
Arcane,
a very distinct aesthetic to it.
Yeah, like Arcane. Arcane does that very well. If not, I would love a live action rendition of Majora's Mask. I think
Mm.
Majora's Mask as like a time travel, like forcing Link to do certain things on repeating days would be incredibly interesting thematically, and even like because I think you can only do Legend of Zelda as a TV show, mostly just because so much of the storytelling has to be done in like an episodic form. I think, 'cause I think if you try to boil it down to a an hour and a half, 2 hour movie, then you get stuff like Dragon Ball Evolution, and that just it doesn't quite. I mean, there's other reasons why Dragon Ball Evolution
There's a
doesn't
lot
work.
of reasons why that don't
Yeah,
work.
but like I think a big part of that is trying to squeeze even Last Airbender. I under yeah, again, more than one issue with that movie, but having to try to take 20 plus episodes of television and compress it into an hour and a half to 2 hour movie, just it works, but it doesn't work on a certain level. So I think Legend, if you're going to do Legend of Zelda, I think it has to be a TV show. I think that like you said, that 3D style animation I think would work incredibly well.
I'll also stick with the Nintendo-ish train because I don't think Nintendo's a distributor, but it also often is on Nintendo platforms. So maybe it is a Nintendo property. I want a very specific version of this. I want not the side scroller, but the 3D platform version of Metroid Prime.
Bro, we are just singing each other's like lists right
I
now. Like,
want this to be a claustrophobic horror movie, a la Hush in a sci-fi setting
mm-hmm.
of I love the first Metroid. The first two Metroids are Metroid Primes on the GameCube are fantastic. The whole aesthetic I think would lend itself perfectly to a TV show, maybe, minus all the annoying backtracking you have to do throughout all those games. Um, but I think Samus is such a great protagonist you could do a lot with. Mandalorian clearly showed that you can do mass protagonists, and then the Halo series came along and showed us how not to do mass protagonists.
Yes.
I think
Well, I mean,
Samus.
because they took the mask off for Halo. They're
I'm not
like
even a
mass
Halo fan,
pretend.
and even I'm just going, "What are you
Yeah.
doing?"
They're like, wait, he's supposed to wear a helmet all the time? Nah, take it off.
That's
Take it
too
off,
hard.
we don't want to work hard for our art. Like, nah. But yeah, I'm with you though. Metroid Prime. See, like I'm gonna go in a different direction, Metroid Prime wise. Because my favorite version was on the DS, the one where you're actually like a bounty
Metroid Prime
hunter.
Hunters.
Yes,
Oh,
dude, have a bounty hunter like theme to it. I mean, it's Metroid Prime, so it's a bounty hunter game anyway. But like to me, having like a horror sci-fi thriller that's a bounty hunter story would be super fun. I think easy to do with Samus, and I just there's so much cool stuff in that world that it would be really hard, I think, to avoid it completely. And I don't know if you've seen or played at all anything for Metroid Dread, but it's fantastic and very intriguing, and it's just there's so much to be had in that world, and I don't understand why we're like not Metroid, sorry, Nintendo like just ignores it all out.
yeah. All right, what else you got?
All right, I've only got like two,
Oh, let me knock some
one.
out then.
No, sorry, two more like like Nintendo esque
Okay.
at ones. I think it's time for a Kirby movie. I
Oh,
think
dude, I would love that.
I think it's
forgot about
time.
Kirby.
I'm just like, to me, seeing how Sonic has done so well, imagining Kirby coming to our world and like doing that kind of story would be incredibly fascinating and hilarious.
All the merch. That could
Dude,
be
all the
so-
merch.
Oh
All the merch.
my gosh.
Like, don't even like, there's so much fun that could be had there to having a uh a voiceless protagonist who just eats everything but is also like the sweetest little ball of joy. There's just, I think, so much fun to be had there. I animated or live action, I think Kirby works best as a movie. I don't particularly need a show because we have a fantastic animated show of Kirby. way back in the day. Jeez. But yeah, I think Kirby could be a lot of fun, especially with the rise of Sonic, is showing shows that you can absolutely do this wacky character, but in a way that is uh both respectful to the I guess is the word to use, respectful to the source material. Like which is something I don't think I would have said about Sonic until like they, I don't know, went gold chaos Sonic in Sonic 2. So I was like, well, okay, dude, chill.
Well,
All
in
right.
the same movie, having Knuckles do a "Do you know the way" joke.
Yes, like come on, man. That's
Also,
so great.
let's be honest though, the best moment in Sonic 2 is when Sonic does it's the worst. I was like, yes, he did the thing. He made that reference. Which, you know, it's so meta. It works.
It was so great. I think we'll take this moment to say that, like, if you aren't watching both of the Sonic films, like, you are severely missing out. Fantastic
Yes.
time.
They have
Great
Tails
times.
and James Marsden.
Like, Tails
also,
was not
one of the most-
annoying. I was so happy about that.
Also, there's no, like, friend conflict between him and Sonic. And also, I have said this from the very first Sonic movie. The marriage between James Marsden's character and his wife is like one of the best written marriages I've seen in recent memory. Of like,
Yeah.
they're on the same page the entire time and they communicate well with each other, and it's like there's no in-person bickering. I'm just like, this is so refreshing, because most movies have this unnecessary marital tension that doesn't actually belong, and Sonic is like, oh no, this is a healthy family unit. What is happening here?
Yeah, look at some. Yeah, God, that movie's so fantastic. I might go rewatch that this afternoon. That's fine. It's so good. Screw watching all the list of content that I need to get to. Well, let's go watch Sonic 2.
What? That's not a thing 30-year-olds do, and just ignore their problems and just rewatch things that they've already seen repeatedly.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a thing at all.
So, these characters aren't necessarily cute, but they kind of have a very basic design a la Kirby, so I'll kind of transition it to that. This is the only game on my list today with no dialogue, which could make it kind of difficult to translate, but I think the visuals tell such a great story. You can follow it without words, and also the music tells enough of the story. It would have to be a short film, I think, cap it at maybe half an hour. Not a full-fledged TV series by any stretch, but I would love a Journey short film.
Oh, yes.
Josh is like,
I forget about that game sometimes, because the game is only like 2 hours long, maybe, if that.
It's so fantastic. Beautiful.
You get in, get out. Like, it's such a beautiful game, and gosh, I've forgotten about that. I might go download and replay it.
Josh is gonna have a busy day later.
Yeah. I've worked tonight. Nah, don't worry about it.
So, for those that don't know, Journey is basically you are a character dropped in the middle of nowhere with a cloak and a scarf, and that's about it. But at the same time, you struggle. You have a goal that you have to get to. Like, the game just drops you and there's a far off mountain in the distance, and you have to get to that point. But along the way, you discover this like interesting story. I'd be very interested to see how, from a narrative perspective, from if you do make it like a short film, how you introduce the second player that's in it. Because a lot of your enjoyment of the game kind of depends on how you interact with the other character, which is such a cool dynamic. But Journey has such a unique visual style that I've never seen in any other video game before, that I would just love to see adapted with a bigger budget for either like a short film. Kind of keep the same arcane animation style of like kind of cell shaded, kind of blocky. It's such a simple story. That's why I think it could translate well, because the story is so simplified. But there's a surprising amount of intrigue and interest to it, because like, all right, I'm getting to this mountain, but along the way, without even saying a word, you get this whole full-fledged backstory, and it's so cool.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of these shows will kind of benefit from is like this magic realism approach to world building, where it's just like, yeah, this is how things are. you're either on the ride or you're not. Like, sorry, you just have to accept the fact that this is a thing. But I'm with you because like there's a lot of like the game I'm going to talk about next is not by any stretch of the imagination a short game. I have. I just can't bring myself to finish it, and that's not just because I just don't have the time, but also cute characters, also a journey, also something that like relatively quiet and not really a lot of dialogue. Hollow Knight is one of those
Ah,
games in recent memories that could absolutely be an incredible show. Um, you know what? I'm gonna scratch it up as doing an anime. Let's do an anime of Hollow Knight. Like the battles alone could be a lot of fun. Um, the game itself is like something like 40 hours, so like there's a lot of content in there to delve from, and that's not even getting into the Silk Song game that's going to be coming out with you playing as Hornet, which I'm super stoked about. I just there's a lot to do there, and I think could be a lot of fun. The having those very like specific kind of visuals, it's just if Cuphead can do it, so we can do it to Hollow Knight. I don't see why not. Like Cuphead is also very specific in its art style, and even like the show follows it pretty closely as well. So it's I don't see why not. We can do it to Cuphead. Let's do it to Hollow Knight.
okay. I'll go with mine that this is the only one that actually already exists, but the movie was so far from the source material. That being said, Josh and I both love this movie and don't think it's nearly as bad as people make it out to be. But I would love a new Prince of Persia movie.
Baby, let's
Like,
go. Yes.
really, really lean into the mysticism that's in the games, and more of the Persia aesthetic, more of the free running. I think that could be so cool. Um, Maybe get the kid from Aladdin. I don't know. He's I don't
Yeah.
think he's super busy nowadays.
Yeah, because Jake Gyllenhaal is too big of a name these days.
And also,
He's,
I don't know, maybe not cast the white dude.
I mean, okay, yeah, there's that too.
But Jake Gyllenhaal put in the work on that movie. He
He
really did.
absolutely did. Yeah, yeah, but like the kid, get the kid from Aladdin more work. Yeah, absolutely.
But Prince of Persia, it's so much fun. You wall run,
Yes.
and that's kind of it. But it has the
But there's a
same
lot,
mechanics
yeah.
as the early God of Wars, basically. And I think they're really one of the earlier games in terms of trying to find an interesting narrative to go with the action. And I
Mhm.
think the aesthetic of Prince of Persia could really work. Adventure, I just always love a good adventure story. There's so much you could do with Prince of Persia, but maybe just, don't spend 120 to 150 million dollars to make it happen. 'Cause Jake Gyllenhaal one I still think is not that bad, but spent so much money on it. Good grief.
Mhm.
Did not recoup its losses. Sucks because again, the movie's not that bad, but it could be better. Life's good, but it can be
It
better.
could be better. I think about that quote for like if there's anything that like stuck in my brain from Wonder Woman, what is it, 1980 or whatever, 84,
Yeah.
is that quote. It's like life is good, but it could be better. I was like, great stuff. The kind of last like maybe comedic one I have, and then we'll dive into. And this is kind of like a good like bridging the gap into the horror stuff that we're about to talk about. So one of my favorite games in college was something for the for the SNES, the Super Nintendo. A little game called Zombies Ate My Neighbors. It is wacky and stupid. You play as a character wearing 3D glasses that runs around killing zombies. Uh, yeah, give me like a Tucker Dale versus Evil kind of like wacky adventure of like this guy who's like a total like stoner who's almost like Shaun of the Dead meets Pineapple Express. Like
Oh gosh.
that would to me so much fun. I mean, the game itself is very hard. It also decides at some point to, I don't know, do zombie small people. So that's terrifying. because the game like acknowledges that anybody can be a zombie. And while that starts as a very like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Oh, look, male and female zombies. All right, cool. Why is there a little person coming at me? Why is there a why is that man who's on steroids now a zombie? What is happening? So it's I could have a lot. I feel like it'd be a lot of fun, but also like dabble in that zombie genre that is not at all play like dead and anything like
It's
that.
okay. It
So
can be dead. They're zombies.
nah. But yeah, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, one of my favorite games in college. It would be a lot of fun, I think.
Before we get into horror, we'll do one more real quick. That if there's any on this list that we talk about today that I feel pretty confident will be the next video game adaptation to actually be announced, it's Red Dead Redemption. Like, that will get a TV show or movie in our lifetime, probably within the next 5 to 10 years. Probably from PlayStation production. Rockstar owns that, right?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
don't think Rockstar's owned by anybody in particular. It's not an Xbox or a PlayStation exclusive.
To my knowledge, no, yeah.
But Red Dead, that's a TV show waiting to happen. Do not cram it into a movie. But that is a TV show waiting to happen, and I think it's only a matter of time. With the success of what was it Yellowstone? Yellowstone's a huge series right now, so you can have a successful Western TV series. So Red Dead, I'm not the biggest fan of the game. It's kind of whatever. I'm not the biggest Rockstar Games fan in general. Like Grand Theft Auto is just kind of, it's fine. I don't play it how it's supposed to be played. I literally just steal people's cars and drive, and that's it. I never do any objectives. I just drive, crash people's cars, rinse and repeat, and I'm perfectly content with that. I go, oh, look how fast I'm going. That's about it. But Red Dead, there's enough interesting material there, and also, bring back westerns. Why not? Now, spoopy stuff. There's plenty of spoopy stuff. So I don't think they would ever fully go this route for this movie. But boy, I would love it. What was the something on Netflix a few years ago? Was it Bandersnatch, where you could like pick your own options or something? What was it called?
No clue what you're talking about, my dude. I'm sorry.
Like, not Channel Zero. It was one of those like pre-establishing. Netflix had like an option of like kind of a choose your own adventure movie type of thing.
Interesting. No, I've never heard of this.
Bring that back for Until Dawn, because I love Until Dawn so much. And whether you do the choose your own adventure thing, which is kind of the crux of the game, but even if you don't, just make it a teen slasher in the woods. I'm a sucker for those. Those are always great. Throw in a couple Wendigos? Heck yes! Fantastic! I love the aesthetic of Until Dawn. I play that at least once a year, still to this day. I'll probably play it maybe the next week or two before I will finally buy The Quarry and play that. Who knows? Maybe The Quarry also deserves a movie adaptation. I love Until Dawn. It kept me in suspense the entire time I played it the first time. It keeps me in suspense every time I play it. I think there's enough of an interesting character variety and interesting narrative that's fresh enough but familiar enough that be like, this feels like a slasher, but not. It doesn't have to be the highest budget. I just want Until Dawn. It could have choose your own adventure elements. It could not. Either way, just, bring everyone back. Hayden Panettiere, Rami Malek with his creepy eyes.
I see, but I think the thing that works for it is the game, for a good, like a large chunk of it, you think it's just a human that's doing the murdering, and they flip it on the script. I love the idea of a teen camp slasher where you're absolutely sold on it being a human being, or being just like a group of people or whatever. But then they're literally like, oh no, Wendigos are real, so it's them, obviously. Like, I really like that idea. Obviously the Wendigos worked really, really well because, well, it's just a prank, Han. Like, it
that
just
was so good.
I just recently watched Jacksepticeye's did his replay through of it, and he just constantly like, it's just a prank, Han. Like, it's fantastic. But
I love
I think
watching his old versus new comparisons for that, of just like
it's
saying the exact same lines of dialogue or saying the same jokes many years later. I'm going, that would exactly be me, and I know it.
but yeah, I'm with you though. Until Dawn would be so much fun to watch, and just I think too much now we go back to like the slasher genre and we're like, no, we have to people have to take this seriously. We can't do schlock anymore. It's like, yeah, but like schlock is fun. Like, as long as you do it like tasteful and not like, I don't know, like sexist and all that stuff. As long as you do it like in a fun way, I don't see why not. So it's, yeah, I'm with you on that. Until Dawn would be a lot of fun. I'm gonna lean still in the horror. I think it's still quality, but more like a dystopian horror. I would assume, at least. So one of the biggest games of the last year and a half is this. I don't know if you've heard of this game, Nathan. It's about a cat. The game's called Stray. It's a very
How's it
little
a horror
game.
game?
Have you played it or seen
No,
any
it's
of the
about a
playthroughs?
cat. I hate cats.
Um, Yeah, it's a horror game. It's you're chased by little bacteria monsters most of the game that look like the head crabs from Half-Life. So yeah, it's absolutely terrifying, and that's why I put the caveat as far as like more of a dystopian horror than it is. So like think The Road with aliens and stuff. The story of the game is actually super interesting. For those that don't know, I mean, the game's been out for a hot minute. So basically, humans create a super bacteria that like heals and like takes care of ailments instantly and stuff, and then that bacteria, no, it breaks down trash. Yes, breaks down trash, and then it like evolves on its own to try to eat everything. So having the show only be from the perspective of the cat and have the cat just going through the world and we experience everything with it, much like the games, to me works really well. You can still go like the dystopian horror where the cat is witnessing like horrendous things. It totally works. I and really pull the rug out from under everybody, much like the game does. Of, hey, let's play this game about a cute cat. Oh, what? There's a hardcore like dystopian story here too. Oh, okay, geez. Ooh. All right. Well, so I think that'd be a lot of fun to do in like a 2-hour film or something like that.
So I got two more. How many more you got?
Two more, my dude.
Perfect. So this one, I don't know if you were with us at college, but I'm sure you're familiar with this game because college dorms, this game was everywhere. This horror game, which honestly, this and Slender were like the first horror games that I had ever really seen. I would love an Outlast movie.
Interesting. Okay.
So long as we keep the caveat of we keep it in the mental asylum the entire time and just make it claustrophobic. I like claustrophobic horror set in one specific location, as you'll find out later. I would love this because Outlast is just creepy and unnerving. You got to play it with a group of people. I think it would translate incredibly well to a suspense thriller. It all depends on who's directing it, obviously, as is the case with any of these projects. But I really, really have vivid memories of Outlast. I think it'd be super cool, super creepy. It's got a very distinct aesthetic. So much night vision, but that could work in film's favor potentially. Make it kind of like was it Quarantine? What was that found footage one where everyone's like trapped in the building or whatever?
I think it's Quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah, well that makes sense. It kind of have some similar veins to that. Don't make it first person though, because we're not hardcore Henry. We don't need a first person movie the entire time. But I think Outlast could absolutely be an interesting enough horror property to turn that into a movie. Not a TV show, but a movie.
Yeah. It's very interesting to me that you're only going with Outlast 1, because Outlast 2 is like in like a village, and it's somehow just as claustrophobic, which is crazy.
Either
But yeah,
one. Either one.
I'm absolutely like, I just need more like creepy. This sound like on the outside looking in, that saying I need more creepy horror is like, well, yeah, all horror is creepy. Like, yes, but like, no, it's not. Like, Outlast would be a lot of fun. There's a lot of really interesting story details there. So I don't know if you have heard of it. I know you and I watch a lot of Markiplier. One of the games he's played recently in like the last year or so is called The Backrooms.
Oh,
I don't know.
not what I was
I don't
thinking.
know if
Or I thought you were
yeah.
going to bring up the mortuary assistant
No,
again.
no, no. That we already have a movie. It's called the Autopsy of Jane Doe, and it's fantastic. For those who haven't seen it, but the Backrooms is basically about a alternate dimension that you can just kind of accidentally clip into, and like clip in and like glitch or whatever. Like it mirrors. It's literally just the back rooms of an office that are completely empty, and there seems to be something
Oh, I
living
know
in
which
there.
one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah.
it like a YouTube short?
It's based off of a YouTube short, yeah. That's like, and short
Yeah.
being like 10 minutes, like it is not long at all. Um, but the idea of having someone going about their life and just all of a sudden being clipped into a dimension where there's no option to survive. There's no way out. There's no there's being chased by something. I don't the versions of the lore of the backrooms is still evolving. It's only recently where games have been being made about the whole concept of an alternate dimension that's like right next to ours that people can just clip into. Because some versions have like a monster itself in there, some versions have like actual ways you can get out. But having a film where the rooms change and as you go through the building and the building rearranges itself as you go through it is just would be very, very fascinating. And there's you could really go with a what is it, the As Above So Below, with a version of like
Yes.
something like that where it's very claustrophobic, very like hopeless, and you're having the characters witness kind of their past and having to deal with it that way. And the movie's more about them dealing with grief and dealing with their past than it is about being stuck in another dimension with no hope. But yeah, I think there's the whole concept of the backrooms is very interesting. I think would make for a very compelling horror film.
What's your last one then? I'm curious if it's the same one I don't
I
think it
don't
is.
I don't know if it will be, but so you'll notice how when you said you were talking about Metroid Prime, I want claustrophobic horror. And I was like, no, let's make that more of a thriller like bounty hunter thing. That's because I want to keep my claustrophobic horror, my claustrophobic space horror
Oh, nope,
for
never
Dead
mind.
Space.
Never mind. All right, we're
I'm
good. We're good.
Yeah. I noticed a theme here. I was like, zombies are terrifying. You know what's more terrifying? Space zombies. Like, imagine going to space to get away from zombies, and there's zombies in space. But yeah, there's Dead Space is fantastic games, absolutely terrifying. Having the technological means to defend yourself and it not actually mattering is like, God, that's terrifying to me at least. Then the games are very well made. Being in space with aliens that attack you is, I mean, it's saying it like trying to simplify some of these ideas. It's very much like, well, just watch Alien then, or like, yeah, but like,
But we haven't had a good alien movie in forever, so
yes, correct. Also, like they never have laser guns. Like they never like have to actively fight, and the aliens are never taking over whole crews and stuff like that. So it's like I think there's a lot of. I think of oh, what was that movie with Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal? Life, I think it's called,
yes.
where
Yeah,
they're
the
trapped.
Venom prequel.
Yeah, basically. But it's fantastic. I think of something like that, but Dead Space, and the alien is obviously like running around. Like we haven't had a good like stalker, like predator style alien that then I think Dead Space would fill that void very, very well.
I like it. I like it. I like
What's your last then?
so This game
And I
is
swear, if
fake.
you go Five Nights at Freddy, like we already made one. Sorry.
No, that movie's already happening.
Yeah.
And yes, we're never gonna beat Willy's Wonderland. That movie's perfect. No, Josh is familiar with this game. Everyone's familiar with this game. Well, I hesitate to call it a game because it's the greatest what if in gaming ever. So if we can't get it as a game,
Ooh.
maybe we can get it as a movie instead. PT. Those that don't know, it was supposed to be the playable demo for an unmade Silent Hill game. Josh, you remember this one?
I'm
Basically,
trying
you're
to.
in an
Is that the?
L-shaped hallway.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Over
And
and
every time you go
over,
through it, just yeah. And like
over
it gets
and
worse and worse and worse and worse the more you go.
yup,
Yes. Yes.
over and over and over again. So basically, you were just in hallway, turn right, you're in another hallway, you go through the door, you're back where you start. But every single time you go through it, something's different, and you gotta pick up specific pieces to try and get out. When you get out, you find out you're Norman Reedus. Cool. I know it sounds a little too claustrophobic of just a hallway. It's so creepy, and this game was everywhere. It's the greatest shame that it got canceled because there's so many people interested in this. Uh, that PlayStation really just got pissed that people liked it so much, so like took it off the PlayStation Store. You can't even play it at all on the PS5. It's like blacklisted. Um, but make PT in the style of 1408 of a character
Mm.
slowly being driven insane by the confines of this never-ending looping hallway, and there's creepy stuff like there's one point there's a person, there's a dead thing in the sink, there's like blood dripping from something from the ceiling. It slowly could drive your protagonist insane, a la 1408. I just really like claustrophobic horror, and I think this could work super well. And also, like, the scares in PT will make you crap your pants, and I'm genuinely mad that the game didn't happen. So maybe give me pants crapping scares in a movie form instead.
What would be a really interesting thing from the game that I'd be interested to see, like how they would kind of put that into the film would be, and so in the game, unbeknownst to you, like you're always being stalked. The actual character model of the thing that's trying to kill you is always behind you, and you can never see it because it moves with your vision. So like just the idea that the thing that that's trying to kill you the entire time you're in these really tight confines is literally always behind you, and you never know. I don't know how you would do that in film, but like just the idea that like the guy who's always trying to get out of this hallway thinks that there's times when he's safe, but like the demon is legitimately always there. So I don't know how you would do that visually, but it would. It's so fascinating. Like PT is like legendary, like to the point where you can get it. Like there, it is on like PlayStations where that haven't been updated, and you have to buy that PlayStation. But the second you hook it up to the internet and it updates, the game become like literally disappears. It's so crazy. It is like I'm so glad that there are videos on YouTube of content creators playing this game, because otherwise it just wouldn't exist. Nobody would know about it. It's so cool.
Well, what do you guys think? What are some video games that you would love to see adapted as either movies or TV shows? Let us know in the comments below where that came from, you guys. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to us on whatever audio platform you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to us on YouTube at Uncharted Media. Help us get to 700 subscribers before the end of the year. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.